fully get to that place where the mainframe is doing things.
Yeah.
Show this to Madison, please.
There we go.
Show it right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Why
you.
do I smell peanuts?
I just had peanut butter.
Wait, Abel.
No.
What?
Tlike
Why?
It took like half an hour to realize I'm fine.
Oh my gosh. He's allergic to peanuts.
Who is?
He is.
Abel.
Abel.
He does this all the time. It's a minor allergic reaction,
It's
but
a
the
minor thing.
I found out when my mom made she added peanuts in a salad, and
Why would she do that?
it was really good though.
It was at least really good.
It was bomb. No joke. It was really good. So she made the salad, and then he's eating. He's like, "Oh, are these peanuts?" Like, yeah, they're pretty good. Takes 3 more bites. I'm allergic to peanuts, and my mom freaks her shit. She's like, "What? Why didn't you tell me? I could have taken them out for you on your fucking serving." And he's like, "No, it's fine. I have the pills in my car." And the pills are not in a bottle or anything. They're just on the dashboard. They're just on the fucking dashboard.
It happens too often that he's the
They're just right there.
Thanks,
He's
Doc, for my new prescription.
and he's just like, "Oh, fuck it. I'm just gonna fucking eat them."
Jesus Christ.
Wait, is it recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been recording for 20 minutes.
Hey, I'm not the maker of the game. I play it.
Shut that off.
I like it. What the fuck is
Shut
this?
that off.
Oh no.
Shut that off.
Get that shit out.
Oh boy.
This is where I say, welcome to the show!
Welcome to the Impending Doomcast, where we talk about talking and talk
I think
about
I guess to do. Hold on. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Impending Doomcast, where we talk about all the things we want to talk about before the world comes to a crashing end.
Close.
And we don't care, and you shouldn't either, for some fucking reason.
That was pretty good.
We're gonna talk about.
Something smells like feet, and I think it's me.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about how Andrew's feet smell.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about how Chris needs a sex life that isn't exactly better, but one more adequate to him.
Oh.
You know
How
what
about
I mean?
any at all?
That too, but
Let's
let's focus. You know what? Before we jump ahead, let's focus on the sex life being good, because you don't want to jump into the sex life and be like, "Oh, I'm just adequate." It's like,
All right.
what? Who wants that?
All right.
But mostly,
And that 2-for-1 at the pub was really good.
mostly,
That's great.
Yes.
what we want is just a sense of, redemption.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean? Like when you have sex with somebody, I redeem myself on this one. You may not understand the person who I'm having intercourse with, but I do. And that's all that matters.
11 seconds.
And all that matters is that I lasted 3 seconds longer than my usual time, and you better be fucking happy about that.
You better be fucking grateful about it.
Welcome to the.
And
That was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
What a great return for
Great.
this man.
Yes.
If you guys don't know,
who is this man?
Who is this man? Hello, that is Igmar Canalas. He is joining us today from the
great
olden
beyond.
days of the Impending Doom. I am here joined. My name is Andrew. I'm joined with Chris, slowly smelling his.
This actually touched my nose,
Cider?
so you can
Oh.
see the liquid on the nose.
Oh, can I touch that like
Yeah, yeah, there we go.
I don't want
Euphoria.
So I'm joined with Chris, and I'm joined with my good friend Abel here again.
Yep.
We're
back.
for another round of.
Drunk podcasting.
That's fine.
That's what it's
I'm
called
not that
now.
drunk.
Now we're using the word good very loosely here, right?
If you make it past the 5-minute mark, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Hey.
Dude, if you make it past the 5-second mark where I just started
Justin,
shitting
this
out
is for
like
you.
some shit that just shouldn't make sense.
Guillermo, this is for you.
Is he still watching?
I don't know. I don't
He
think
probably
so.
is. No, think about it.
What else is he doing in his life?
Exactly.
Not much. Love you, Guillermo.
Hey.
I'm fond of you.
So, I know that you had an actual topic that you want to talk about.
When this comes out, it'll already be too late.
It's
But
already too late. We're recording it too late.
it doesn't matter. Because we had a good time earlier.
Yes. Yes, we did.
But there is one thing that I wanted to talk about, and that was Star Wars.
Yes.
We know that the movie just came out on December, whatever the date was. 15th or 16th. The 15th.
Technically 14th if you want to include the
Shut up, the
preview
15th.
night.
I mean, I watched it on the 14th.
There you go. Fuck off. Fuck both of you. So it came out on the 15th.
These guys haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it. I haven't seen it because, frankly, I don't care
Anymore.
These fellas have seen it because
We care.
They're Star Wars.
We care too much.
They care and they're Star Wars. But as we were talking earlier, before we set up everything,
Yeah.
we were having a discussion about the movie. We're not gonna talk about the movie or like review it, or at least I don't want to.
Hopefully
There might
not.
be spoilers.
There might be.
Knowing myself.
I'm just gonna tell you right now,
Warning.
spoilers. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
I'll make sure to edit it out if there is something
If
too
there is anything
graphic.
that's totally fine. But
Ray just fucks this guy.
Oh man! She takes that step. She puts it in.
Oh, it is, and he likes it every step of the way.
The staff
Alright.
is 6 feet long. Guess how much of it goes in his asshole?
7 feet.
7.
Exactly.
there you go.
I like this guy. This guy knows what he's talking about.
All right, but the
Yeah.
there you go.
You can see the levels on that.
Oh really?
Yeah, a little bit.
There's levels to this shit. You and I know, bitch. Be humble.
Whoa!
Be
Bitch,
humble.
be humble.
All right, I will.
Sit down. There you go.
I'm already sitting.
But
Then you
there's
stand up so you can sit back down.
When's Daniel Jeffries getting in here?
Oh no! Let's not talk about that.
Jesus Christ. So okay, so
Daniel,
there's-
I'm just kidding. I'm drunk.
he is a little bit. So there's one question that I did wanted to ask
Like he would.
the three of you in the three of you in the room, and possibly the fourth who's sitting over there on their phone. Hello. In regards to this new movie coming out, like we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
what is Star Wars to you guys? What is when you see
That's a good question.
when you see the words and when you see that yellow font on that back on whatever background it is, or whenever you see a teaser poster or whatever, any news about these two words come together, Star Wars.
Intergalactic warfare.
What does that mean to you in terms of media, in terms of how you feel inside, in terms of past experiences? Because as I was thinking about it more and more with this new movie coming out, like ever since this new trilogy got announced, it's like when the new, if you guys correct me if I'm wrong, it felt like when this new series was getting created and like pitched or whatever, and the first season came out,
Right.
it's literally like Jesus stepped on the earth. It was like Jesus just came down from somewhere and was just like, listen guys, I'm back and I'm gonna make everything better.
Yeah, I
So that's where I want to kick it off.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I totally see what you're saying. I mean, it's a bit of a loaded question just because you're focusing on here's the thing. When this whole thing came out, they were saying that there's going to be the trilogy, but then there's also going to be the movies in between that trilogy.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I'm saying it's a bit of a loaded question, because it's like my idea of what a Star Wars movie kind of changed with the release of Rogue One, where Force Awakens came out and you're kind of like, yes, more Star Wars,
exactly.
awesome.
Yeah,
but then once Rogue One came out, it's like, Star Wars can be more than just more Star Wars. It can also be filling up the gaps of things that we've always thought about.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I know Chris would oppose me on this, but I think that Rogue One does something where it makes Episode 4 better.
Okay.
In the sense where it fixes a lot of holes that are in Episode 4, and for those who don't know, it gives more backstory into the Death Star and why the Death Star was made and why it has such a huge flaw, which a lot of people have questioned for many years.
The plot of it is right here.
Yeah. And so when you think about Rogue One and you think about how that one's doing something different outside of this Skywalker saga, as people have called it, it is interesting where they can go with these side movies. Yeah. They've only done one so far, where the Skywalker saga has now 8. Was 7 at the time when Rogue One came out, but 8 movies that dedicate themselves to that specifically. But yeah, I mean, there is this expectancy, right? That these Star Wars movies have to be everything that we want. I think me and Chris were touching on that a little bit more, and then we could talk about it. Yeah, we could touch about it more now. But it is interesting how these movies, they come out and it's, I mean, I personally bought them day one. I needed to watch right at 7. I needed to know, because from the moment at the end of 7, I wanted to know the next part of the story.
Yeah, same. Like it, I feel like it just, because it left off on such a cliffhanger. Like I was so like, I want to watch it, but I feel like the trailers leading up to this movie weren't as great as 7. In my opinion, I thought like 7 drew me in more than this recent movie that just came out.
Funny that you say that, because I feel like the trailers were the exact same trailers as before. They the same style of marketing, very mysterious, even literally the same way that they cut the trailer is almost exactly the same as the first and second trailers for Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting that you say like you felt different with this one. I don't know if
maybe it's just like a little like, okay, I've seen this before, it's not calling my attention as much.
That could be part of it. I tend to extrapolate that when people say that to more of a, oh, we're already getting tired of Star Wars, because I've heard that argument a lot recently.
It is a lot.
So we've already been oversaturated with Star Wars, despite Marvel doing way more.
Yeah.
And people are still going to see these movies, and they're still rating them highly.
It is.
So.
It with Marvel though, it is a different feel for each movie. Where with Captain America, it's interesting that we got like an espionage thriller. Yeah. You know, it's interesting that we got that.
You're allowed more variation.
You look at Thor. It was set off to be a cosmic road trip. There wasn't really much road to it, but it is a cosmic trip, right? Where you go through the spaces and go through there. Yeah. You look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man's supposed to be a high school story. You know, they're different in that sense. But with Star Wars, it is almost always. We haven't seen Solo yet, but it usually is always revolving around war.
Yes.
War is usually the main theme around it. So for people to get kind of sick of Star Wars, it makes sense, because you're getting sick of a story that's constantly about the terrors of war. Who's here?
No, Taco Bell.
Oh, Taco
Bell's here. Taco Bell's here. You're good.
Oh,
Taco Bell's here. Oh my god.
Sorry to
no, but
Taco Bell.
But yeah, but that there is that's the thing. Like, that's why it's easier to, because I doubt there are some people out there who do not watch all the Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah.
But they make sure to watch the main Avengers
movies. I just saw Doctor Strange.
I just so as I told you guys earlier, I saw Thor, saw it in the theaters, great.
Yeah.
I did not see Guardians when it came out because I completely missed it.
That movie is so sad.
And that's another topic for another day. But I completely missed Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. And those are two movies that like, I know that Guardians, I saw the first one. The first one I loved. Doctor Strange. Okay, cool. They're making a Doctor Strange movie. Okay, cool. I just completely missed them.
Yeah.
But then come to Thor, since Thor is like it's a different character, it's a different setting.
It's the main part of
exactly.
Like, I'm not saying that the other two aren't, but it's like people know who Thor is more than they would know who Doctor Strange is.
Right.
Like, I think simply because he's been around longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I just met like each of those movies have been part of this grander puzzle that we're getting to in fucking May. But like those two pieces,
Black Panther,
I didn't necessarily need. You get me?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't necessarily need those two pieces of this whole Avenger.
Which movies are you speaking of?
Doctor Strange and Guardians.
Guardians.
To be fair, you do need
Sorry,
Doctor
I did 3, but not 2.
You do need Doctor Strange.
You do need Doctor Strange for the eye, but I feel like they would have been like, hey, Doctor Strange has this. That's all you need.
Well, yeah, no, that's, again, the problem with long series. This is getting into another tangent, which I'm going to cut off right after I'm done with this. I'm not going to allow anyone to speak. But when you're talking about long-running series, and you're saying, oh, you need this piece for this one thing.
Exactly.
The creators know that barely anybody is actually, I shouldn't say barely anybody, but there's like not as many people that are watching everything exactly for each portion of that story. I can't even count how many people that I've talked to recently that are like, oh wait, there was a Infinity Stone in Thor 2? It's like, yes, there was. Very few people actually pay attention to that shit. So when you say that you need it, you are like, you're one of the more dedicated fans, to be sure. And they're going to let you know everything in the movie itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they did with this recent Star Wars. They let you know what happened in the previous one pretty often, just so you're not confused.
And then like you said, with like long running franchises about, you know, this, like, to start with the Avengers stuff and this whole like phase 1, 2, like the whole MCU.
Yeah.
You have Star Wars that has been running since like now that it's been touted as like, okay, you have these first 3 set of movies, like you have this movie named Star Wars in the 70s that came out. Okay, no one knows what it is. It's brand new. Holy shit. And then you have its sequels that come out later that created this thing. And now you and that's the original trilogy, just if no one fucking knows by now. And then you have in the 90s and the early 2000s, you have the prequel trilogy, which came out, and now you have this new one. So you have like just like the MCU, you have like these set of stories that are like being spread out. So I'm not sure if it's because of time that like, oh hey, we've had these movies in the 70s and 80s, these movies like 10, 20 years later, and now you're getting these an extra like about almost
30.
Almost like 10 years later, like this new trilogy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of time that makes it so grand, or that makes it so...
Time Wars.
Exactly. Time War. That makes it like so grand, or so like in high regard, while we have the Marvel movies over here. Like, where they're like chugging out a movie, like 2 movies, 3 movies a year.
I'm trying to understand what the point you're trying to make.
Well, because ultimately, you're like, there is a difference between, like, where, here's the thing. First trilogy comes out, and then you have, like, more than 10 years to sit on those movies. Yeah. Think about the movies. Think about what they mean to you. Think about what they are. Show them to your kids.
77 to 99, I want to say.
Oh.
1999 was
no, like where Phantom Menace came out. Yes, he's right. He's right. Yes. So, well, like from the first Star Wars,
the first one to
there, yes, that is a total of 22 years.
83 to 99.
Yeah.
If you want to
if you want to be like from like how much time they have. Yeah, they had 16 years to sit down with these movies, show them to their kids, you know, connect with them through their kids, you know, it's
that was one of those.
It's very different how these Marvel movies from 2008 to now. That's not even 10 years yet.
We've been living through
We've had more Marvel Cinematic Universe movies than we have had Star Wars movies. And the same way they're playing with this is that what I like about it is, like, you guys talk about the idea that, like, not everyone's going to be on top of these things. I doubt everyone was on top. At least every comic book reader was on top of every issue that needed to be for Civil War or Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah. You know what I mean? For these comics, there's the main story, and then there's those off the beaten path ones of stories, and not everyone reads them. Not everyone has the money to read them. Not everyone has the time to read them. Yeah. So with these Marvel movies, they do have the luxury where you can pick your favorites. If maybe your favorite is Iron Man, you're gonna watch every Iron Man movie. Maybe your favorite is Captain America. I know some people that love Captain America so much that they'll watch every one of those movies, and they're lucky that the Captain America movies have been ones that very much stay within the central story. Yeah. Especially with Civil War being basically Avengers 2, the better version of Avengers 2. They have that luxury. Which with us the Star Wars movies, we're barely getting that luxury. With now that they're promising us a Star Wars movie every year, and now that they're promising us a Rian Johnson one, trilogy,
a new trilogy,
which they're putting so much faith in him, and I understand why they put faith in him. But beyond that, these Star Wars films, I feel, attribute to this ultimate sense of, like, we know that the original Star Wars tells us a really good story overall. From episode 4 to episode 6, it tells us a very good story. We as a group collectively hope to get more stories like that.
Yeah.
And that's why we're so gung-ho on this new trilogy, is that we hope to see that same story or that same thought that went into that original story to deliver on to us what we expect.
What we expect
But
from-
those
from back then,
expectations,
exactly.
but those expectations usually
Yeah.
disappoint us.
It's like
And-
what exactly expectation versus reality. Just
Yeah.
like what you think a Star Wars movie is, and then when you have Episode 7 and Episode 8 come out, they're not what you expected,
Yeah.
but they still have the name to it. So it's like, okay, this is good. Like
What-
as over time, like some people they have the movie grow on them. Some people just like, okay, I saw it was okay, like
Yeah.
whatever. To the people who is still just like, okay, it's growing on them. They know that like, okay, yeah, this is befitting of the name
Yeah.
Star Wars.
And that's the thing with the Marvel Universe. With the Marvel Universe, the only people who hold any expectancy is people who have read the comics. Honestly, they're the only ones. And honestly, their voice is going smaller and smaller as this MCU grows more and more.
Yeah.
They're like, because honestly, to some extent, some of them can't complain anymore because I think this MCU gets a lot right in the sense of what they can do with what time space they're given. Where a Civil War in the comics universe has so many more heroes because it has years and years and years
They're
and years
allowed
and
to
years.
branch out
Yeah.
with different characters as well due to their own side comics
And
within this
I-
one. Major
Exactly.
I
And-
do want to add to that, like with the deal Marvel Disney made with Fox.
Hmm.
There's so many things I expect, but it's probably not gonna happen.
It's time to fear the mouse.
Well, I mean, honestly, here's the thing. Is it really fearing the mouse if the people who are behind it, Kevin Feige and Kathleen Kennedy, who are, I think, essentially people who honestly believe in telling a good story? I think they're both are.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They also know how to play the game. They also know how to play the movie game. That's the thing. They're able to get at least as much as you are able to be happy with both series, with MCU and Star Wars, is because these people are able to play the game and play it well enough to the point where it's like, okay, I'll give you business people this Porg that you'll probably love because it'll be a childhood toy that
Yeah.
people are going to love to buy for the Christmas.
They're all over.
Side note on the Porg. That was just them having to edit out the puffins that were on the actual islands. Like, the Porgs only came out of them having to edit out the puffins that were actually on the island without having to get rid of them completely.
Oh,
So they
okay.
created a character out of a annoying situation. But that's just a fun little, side
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Really?
But that still benefits them.
Yes.
That only
No, yeah.
benefits them. I mean, beyond Porgs, there's so many things that are like,
Yes.
you have to look at it. It's like, oh, that's
BB-9.
marketable.
Yes.
That's marketable.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
marketable.
100%. They
And-
marketed the hell out
Yeah,
of Porgs.
yeah,
They knew
yeah.
exactly what
Yeah,
they were.
they knew
toys
they knew
everywhere.
they found something really good with the Porgs. And here's the thing, I didn't find.
animals.
I mean, for spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the movie,
Porgs are dead.
I didn't find the Porgs that
Porgs died?
Porgs that annoying or anything.
No.
I found them a pleasant nuisance. Let's say that.
What did you think
Okay.
of Porgs?
Tell us what you think of the comments.
What did you think
down
of
below.
Porgs?
This video's gonna get like.
All right, that's
That's
her
what-
opinion on
All right,
Porgs.
there you go. Which
Perfect.
ones are Porgs?
What
All
are
right.
Porgs?
Going
Those
back-
are cute little squirrel looking things?
Yes.
Adorable.
There you go. See, there you go.
Cute
Let's
looking
do it.
squirrel little things, adorable.
Going back to my point,
Yeah.
I would have liked this deal between Disney and Fox to would have happened earlier.
Okay. Why?
Because one, Infinity Wars in the comic books, it's so much better. Like it's so much broader than what it was in the movie. Because in the movie they only had rights to like what was it, 12 of them. Considering Thor,
yeah, a little bit more. Yeah.
Considering Thor and Hulk weren't there,
Yeah.
but in the comic books, the Fantastic Four was there.
Yeah.
And I feel like just having that at least in there would have made it more.
Thing is like he said, like the Marvel movies just started not too long ago. It's barely on their they're coming up on their 10th year next year.
Yeah.
So it's like they didn't have the time to like establish. Fox tried, trying to establish those properties and trying to do anything with it. But like he said, it's like they don't have the time to like.
Yeah.
They don't have the time to establish like, okay, this is who they are. This is how they're gonna weave into it. Because if they come into it, it's just like.
Though to be
"Oh,
fair,
what are you doing?"
if you're talking about establishing, it wasn't until Lucas was, trying to do other stuff outside of.
I feel like the reason Fox gave they made a deal with this is because their last Fantastic Four movie did so poorly.
Well, no, it's not just the Fantastic
No,
Four. There's
yeah,
a lot of more.
there's
There's
a
a lot of
but-
other stuff.
A lot more shit.
Yeah.
Not just that one specific.
One movie can't bring down a whole
No,
company.
yeah, but I feel like,
2 movies can't.
but the original Fantastic Four was great. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Fuck
Person-
Silver Surfer.
Let him say his piece.
Silver Surfer, I didn't appreciate so much, but that new Fantastic Four movie that came out, who cares? When it came out, I didn't get through the first hour of it. I was like, this is boring. This sucks.
Yeah.
It's not gonna compare to the original.
Sue
I'm
Storm
done.
changed her hair.
But I feel like this is going away from our original
Yes, it
topic
is.
by a hell of a lot.
But okay, yeah.
But when I was talking about in terms of when you were saying not necessarily legacy, what did you say? What was the term you used? Just the build up that Marvel has been doing for only 10 years
That's what you said.
compared to Star Wars, which was just
30.
he made some movies, right?
Yeah.
That were extremely influential, and then there was
Struck
almost
gold.
there was almost a need, a drive to make more in that series. Not necessarily for money, but that was definitely, I'm sure, a part of it.
Right.
But Lucas was like, there's more there. People were like, oh, this is 4, 5, 6. What about 1, 2, 3?
Right.
So there's fans asking, what about the original?
What is this?
So then he made more, and when those weren't, well received for the most part, at first it was like lukewarm, and then it just went down from there. That kind of built up this, again, more of a need for more movies. And Lucas was like, nah, I don't want to do it, especially after all that. Disney approached him, was like, hey, I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. And
Here's your Mickey Mouse hats.
exactly. They put it on him. Lucas was crying. And Kathleen Kennedy was shaking his hand as the horns grew out of her hair. No, she's fine. I don't care. But it was not a legacy built because of a grander, not necessarily a grander story. There was a lot of other things at play, whereas Marvel was, let's build this, big old story for the purpose of obviously making a lot of money, but also to tell a grand story between multiple films.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that Kevin Feige has said that he wanted to do, was try and build this, a cinematic universe, which he succeeded on immensely.
And even hopes to succeed it by even beyond him.
Yeah.
And here's something that I want to throw a question to you guys. Do you think in time, that main statue you walk into and see when you're, and this is a question that's been proposed by other people.
Okay.
I'm just bringing it up here. I don't want to take credit for it. But do you think in time, that beyond just Mickey holding Walt's hand, it should have George Lucas and Stan Lee up there in that main statue you see when you walk in? Because honestly, the way things are looking right now, it looks like most of Disney's main attention is surrounded behind the fact that they have Star Wars and the fact that they have Marvel.
And I know that before you get to your point, I know that before, I personally felt that, the attention was, before all this Marvel stuff happened, before all this Star Wars stuff happened, the attention was to, Disney was a company that made the princess movies, that had their own theme park, that had cute rides, had more adult rides, whatever, at the park, or that's how I saw it. I thought it was like a kid property that made kids happy.
Yeah.
And then now with Star Wars and Disney behind them, I feel like
It makes it a property for all.
It makes it, it's you're expanding that. You're expanding that, hey, now we have stuff for these kinds of fans, and they can all intermingle. So when you say that on that statue, should it not just be Mickey and Walt Disney? It should be Stan Lee and who was the other one?
George Lucas.
George Lucas.
Who would they be holding hands with?
They'd probably be holding hands,
be a little
or like
flawed.
probably have hands on the shoulders of Walt, if anything.
Okay.
Think
And
about
Stanley's
it.
just in the back and he has a cameo. He always
Yeah,
does.
he
That's
always
always
has a
been.
cameo. But I mean, like that's the thing. Like when you think of Walt Disney, what did Walt contribute? Was essentially Mickey, right?
Yeah.
Or like to some extent, like
So that's
like,
him with him.
Yeah. But like
But what
when
about-
it comes down to the rest of what Disney stands for right now, Disney definitely stands for
invented?
Star Wars
Right.
and the MCU. Like really, like do you really give it? I mean, I went to go see Coco. I thought Coco was a great film. I recommend anyone of Hispanic culture, mainly Mexican, because I know how Salvadorians get.
That's racist. No, I'm
Hey,
just kidding.
it's not racist. It's culturist, if
Yeah,
anything.
I
But yeah, anyone who wants to see a movie about culture, watch Coco. But beyond that, like, is Coco a franchise? No.
No.
What is franchise? MCU. What is a franchise? Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
I mean, they're starting with the Pixar stuff though. They're adding in, you know,
Well,
a bunch of
I mean,
sequels.
Pixar will always be a name that will bring people to the theater.
Yeah.
And that's that in itself. They've surpassed even franchise. They've gone company level where you put the Pixar title on it. I went to go watch The Good Dinosaur. The Good Dinosaur wasn't a great movie, but it was.
I would argue that point, but continue.
I mean, it's a great western. I know. I'll give you that.
wow. Okay.
But
It's more like Lassie or one of those kinds of films, rather than a western. But continue.
yeah.
Okay.
Which I mean, even Lassie to some extent is considered a western.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm
yeah,
not saying.
but I get what you're saying.
I'm
I
not
get what you're
saying
saying. I
I'm
get what you're
not
saying. I get what you're saying.
Okay, but what was the point you were gonna say before we start messing with the bottle?
I completely forgot.
Fuck.
Yeah, fucking
so-
give me that bottle. Jesus Christ.
But like a Pixar movie
Go drunk your home.
can be hit or miss. It still can. Like
Yeah.
it's been proven with that. Where when you look at an MCU movie, I honestly thought at some point like Thor: The Dark World.
Oh,
I went to
boy.
watch that in theaters.
I did too.
I regretted watching that in theaters.
Yeah.
But
And
we're still-
that put me to the point where I was like, I have to be picky about my Marvel movies.
Mm.
But here's
Iron
the
Man
thing:
3.
since then, every Marvel movie has been adequately really good.
Yeah.
Like
They-
since Thor: The Dark World, there has not been a bad Marvel movie.
No, there's been slightly above average.
Yeah, where
Iron
where
Man
where,
3.
where one of them was Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man was really good. I really like Ant-Man, but
Ant-Man
there are
was
people who will argue that it's only just a little bit better than
Middle of the
Thor:
road.
Dark
Yeah.
World.
I'm waiting
Yeah.
for Ant-Man and the Wasp. 'Cause-
Yeah,
Yeah.
But the movie I didn't like was, even though it was the first trilogy, Iron Man, I didn't like the third one. I mean, I thought it was cool, it was flashy, but no, it's not gonna work.
yeah. I didn't like the third one either. But we're getting into territory where we're gonna start like
Yeah, we're
depicting
gonna-
each
We've
film.
already gone way past beyond what we wanted to talk about.
But ultimately, what we're talking about here is Star Wars as where are they going?
Exactly.
Right? What
And-
is the question?
And here's the
of,
thing, like you can't bring up now because of Disney, you can't bring up Star Wars without having, or maybe you can, but like Star Wars is a property owned by Disney, which owns Marvel, which owns all this shit, which like is getting into that territory when you said like fear the mouse.
Yeah.
So it's like I like, to me it's like I feel like I can't help of talk about Star Wars without shut up, without that's really funny, without thinking of like, okay, like, but what else are they doing with like their other properties that they can possibly pull into this one,
Yeah.
and do something different with it, you know?
Honestly, I've been trying to think. This is back to what we originally wanted to talk about, which was when you think of Star Wars. When I thought of Star Wars, it was trilogies. It was
Yeah.
contained like spacefaring adventure fantasy stories. When it was the first three, and then the prequels, and then when they talked about doing new ones, I was like, cool, they're doing a new trilogy. But as soon as they started talking about making more, that changed how I thought of Star Wars fundamentally. I cannot think of Star Wars as these self-contained projects anymore, which kind of upsets me as a connoisseur of film, because I appreciate self-contained stuff. Sure, I've been watching the Marvel movies since, 2008. I've seen every single one of them.
Same.
Usually on opening night. I'm a goddamn slave to these motherfuckers. However,
just not Iron Man 3.
I am 25 years old. I am reaching this point where I've decided, okay, after Infinity War, and I swear to this, I am not going to care nearly as much about these properties after that.
Which one? Infinity War is part 1 or 2?
That honestly depends on how the first one wraps up.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So if this one wraps up with some kind of actual ending, then I'm going to be like, okay, I don't honestly care. Because there's so many other films that I could be watching, so many other experiences I could be having, rather than being a part of, like, this entire franchise.
Yeah, because
which is the same way you have to admit how comic people feel.
Yes.
Where like once they reach the end of an arc, they're like, well, do I really want to keep reading Iron Man or Captain America or Thor, or am I going to be just good watching or just picking up on these main paperback issues?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting space that you're talking about, because it honestly, like, we are evolving towards that moment, right? Mm-hmm. Where like we're like, okay, this is cool. I mean, if you think about it, how were people when comics first came out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When like those first 6 years of those first comics that came out, 6 years. We started in 2008, right?
Yeah.
So 9 years. Those first 9 years, I'm pretty sure there were certain people who were like, this is the most amazing thing that I've ever read. I need to keep reading every issue.
Yeah.
But at some point, there just becomes too many issues of everything where you're starting to be like, I need to be very selective with my issues.
Yes.
So, I mean, the way you're thinking is not out of the realm of possibility if they keep up the same trajectory.
Yeah.
But when we think about Star Wars, okay? Star Wars is the first trilogy.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6. We didn't even know they were fucking 4, 5, 6 till later.
Yeah.
Till Lucas told us, guess what? There was 4, 5, 6.
Fucking retconned it.
1, 2, 3 is where shit really happens. And then he shows us 1, 2, 3, and we're like, this is what really happens? This is what really happens? I mean, not everyone. There are certain people who will stand by those trilogy, and by God, I will defend to the death their right to say that.
I was speaking for Abel right now as he eats a taco. He shook his head and said no.
No, but there are people who do, and there are people who love them, and more power to them that they love it, because honestly, like, wouldn't you want to have 6 Star Wars movies that you love? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you want that? I would want that.
I wish I did.
I wish I had that too.
I like 4.
Because honestly, when I think of my Star Wars movies that I love, so far right now there are only 5. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's and you
does
can, you
that
can
include
guess.
8?
No, it does not.
Oh, does it include 3?
It does not include 3.
Ooh, really?
3's
Rogue
good.
One.
Oh, Rogue One.
Rogue One. Yeah,
I
I liked Rogue One.
As
I was one of those people who really liked Rogue One. Who thought Rogue One did a lot right by the Star Wars series.
I'm sorry.
But overall, to finish up the topic of Star Wars,
back to our regularly scheduled program.
And something that Andrew, I think, wanted us to touch on was the fact that, like, after seeing this episode 8, me being very conflicted, Chris himself saying that he felt fine with it. There is this question that I feel like Chris can't help but ask: where does episode 9 lead to, right? And that's kind of what you wanted us to talk about, right, Andrew? It's like where is this going on beyond 9? And that's kind of where I was trying to touch on before I had to go to the restroom. Which will happen maybe again in the middle of this conversation.
He's
still feeling it. The bladder's filling as we speak.
Yeah,
he's just making this point. He goes to the bathroom and he's still talking. So we're like,
he takes the microphone with him and the equipment.
He's like, guys, we're
preparing for it. No, but ultimately, it is this question that you have to ask of, like, okay, Lucas originally envisioned there being 12 episodes.
Holy shit!
That is what I've heard.
I did not know that.
People talk about it. Like he has envisioned 12 episodes. Does 7, 8, 9 fall into this vision? I don't think so. No. I really doubt it. I really doubt that the way that these 3 episodes are being structured, and they're canon, and they're completely disavowing anything that happened before. Not disavowing.
No, that's because they do include a lot of subjects.
Yeah.
clone troopers, other things like that. They're like they talk about stuff that happened in the previous trilogies. Especially.
Oh, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more on this essence of what was canon before, like the books that were canon.
Oh,
before.
gotcha.
You get
Okay.
me?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are now
Extended universe.
Extended universe.
Yes, that have been struck from the record. Anything produced by Disney, and anything after Force Awakens.
Right.
So
Isn't
the Disney
aren't
shows, the Disney
those are
show,
canon, right?
the Disney shows are canon.
Yeah.
So they're saying anything that's Disney and the original movies, any of the books, any of the comics, gone.
The Clone Wars
Unfortunately.
is saga still, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
because that was produced by Disney.
Rebels.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh.
Clone
okay.
Wars, the one that's in the same animation style as Rebels,
Yeah.
is Disney.
Oh.
So that was those are also canon.
So even when they were on Cartoon Network, they were produced by Disney.
No,
They
are you
might have
talking?
been-
You're talking about the 2D.
No. I'm talking about Clone Wars that was on Disney on Cartoon Network before Disney.
The cartoon one, the 2D one. That,
No, not the 2D one. There's
No,
a 3D.
what
The 3D ones
I
that
thought
were.
that was on Disney XD. The
That's-
Clone Wars, there was 3D.
No, that was on Cartoon Network.
That was on
before.
Cartoon Network?
Yes, the
Interesting.
Rebels, which is on
Okay,
XD right now,
that's on XD.
is
That's
Disney.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
so
Disney XD.
But that is considered.
yes,
top
that is
art.
considered
Yes.
canon
It
because
doesn't matter.
it Rebels includes characters that were a part of
Right.
Clone Wars.
I understand
So-
that. I understand that. But like that,
It made me
and ultimately
super
that's the point I'm trying to get to, which is when you think about these well, supposedly 12. Who knows? They might go 15 for all we
Yeah.
know.
They're
Money
probably gonna go 15.
wanting.
Ever since 7 came out, we are getting a Star Wars movie every single year.
For
That's
the
what I'm
next
saying.
100
That's what I'm
years.
saying.
Until it
By
fucking gets
episode
old.
9, we expect to see Rian Johnson's trilogy that if it ever comes into fruition, which part of me hopes so, because honestly after watching episode 8, I think he does bring a lot of good to the table.
Yes.
I really do, especially with the fact that and spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it. Especially with the whole idea of what we thought of Luke or what we expected from Luke against what he thinks should be the quintessential what Luke is and
Yes.
where Luke failed essentially.
Yes.
I think he does bring a lot good to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he brings a lot more to the plot of a story, because I was not happy with what with what episode 8 brought as its central plot. I thought what its central plot was very lacking of what. I mean, one thing that made me think, and it's again spoilers. One thing that came to mind was Mad Max. Mad Max was hands down one of my favorite films, if not my favorite film of 2015.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a chase movie that went on for 2 hours, and it was done so well. This movie, I felt, kind of tried to copy that
A little bit.
a
for
little
sure.
bit, and they did not do it well. Because there's a difference between cars driving and cars right behind them, where it's believable where this car is much more ahead than this one because of factors that happen beyond that.
Well, also, you have an actual understanding of how cars work.
Yeah.
We have no idea how a spaceship
Yeah, like you can fly at a
And it's on
distance enough
Earth.
far away. Yes, it's on Earth.
It's on Earth.
Earth.
But I mean, you can. In this
Welcome
movie, it's
to
trying to tell
Earth.
us that we can fly a distance far enough away in which we'll be fine.
Yeah.
What are they
For
going
18
faster
hours.
than 12 parsecs? Oh.
But that's what I'm saying. Where like these movies cannot depend on that, and that's where my biggest gripe is with episode 8. But beyond that, I my question isn't what's coming into episode 9. My question is what's after episode 9. What do we have to see afterwards?
Shut up.
We already have, like I said, the Rian Johnson trilogy, which I kind of hope. I really do like the idea of this trilogy, just because it does help us fill in enough time up until if they want to take on 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Which I feel like they will. I mean, why wouldn't you? You know, 7, 8, and 9 are already a cash cow. I mean, $450 million its first weekend. God damn.
Wait, seriously? Oh fuck! I was forgetting about the foreign box office. I was thinking just domestic was like 220.
Domestic was 220,
It's
and then
insane.
fucking worldwide 230 on top of that.
We still have Christmas weekend coming up.
We still have a lot of time, and that's the thing. They're very smart to decide to choose to the December time.
Yeah.
Because regardless of
then why are they choosing-
May is the Star Wars time. May is when everything is
It's
come. May
Star
the
Wars
Force be
Day,
with
yeah.
you.
But
Fuck that. You know where the money's at. The money's in fucking December.
and also they already have their May movie, which is the Avengers.
Right.
They're already doing Avengers. Why are they putting that out literally as a
You
competitor to their
literally
own
be fighting
product?
yourself.
Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna bump it just because of what they're doing with the reshoots on that one. But I feel like because we not necessarily haven't, but we haven't set our full ideas of what your original topic was, which was
What is Star Wars?
What is Star Wars to you? Let's just, as simply as we can, go down the line.
Oh
do
yeah.
like a quick
Yeah,
little
you're right,
little
you're right,
little bit.
you're right.
So let's start with Abel.
Me.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
like to you, Star Wars.
Star Wars. Intergalactic Warfare. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pew pew.
Yeah. Rescue the Princess.
Right.
It's like a space version of Super Mario.
Okay. So then,
It's a weird way of putting it. Okay.
But
Yeah,
it makes sense. It
But
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Abel.
no,
It
yeah,
totally
no,
makes
that's
sense.
totally what they
Huh.
were. Do you feel like that's something that they can go back to, or is that is it too late for them?
No, I feel like they would be able to go back to it because everything good always comes back to its starting point.
Do you feel like they should?
Honestly, with the way they're going, I can't really say yes because I haven't seen the new movie.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to see how they would work it into a new movie.
Okay.
Like I'm not saying essentially reboot it, but like continue off of it, go back to the original roots and
Okay.
see how that plays off.
Okay. I can see that happening a while from now too. Like when they decide
Like,
after this
coming to a
trilogy,
close or-
they'll just either with this trilogy or with a side movie, they'll do something similar. I could see that definitely coming down the
I'm
line.
sorry, but the princess is in another spaceship.
I'm surprised that movies have done that, right? There have been movies that have done that trope, right, where they're like, "Oh, you're the person you're looking for is in another place."
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that movie. Andrew, yes.
Fucking mouse prick. No, what Star Wars is to me, what Star Wars is to me is that, it's the classic story of good versus evil.
Okay.
Out of the original trilogy, what my favorite one was A New Hope. I can always go back to that movie and just watch it beat for beat, never get bored. Be like, oh wow, this is great. Like it follows the fucking hero's journey all the way and hits every fucking point. And I'm satisfied with it at the end. I still love the original whatever.
Yeah.
I love that. I love, like, even though it may sound generic, and as I have a group chat on my Facebook with my friends, my name is Generic Man because I like the generic stories.
Yeah.
I love A New Hope. I love Part 1 of JoJo because it hits those points of just the classic storytelling.
The hero myth.
Exactly.
The mom myth.
And I like that. Empire Strikes Back is great. Return of the Jedi is great. Prequels, whatever. New trilogy, still haven't seen 8. But to me, what it felt for me is just it's that, like, I guess whimsical and that, like, sense of, like you said, like that hero myth of, like, this one guy who is just out on a planet, God knows where, is the chosen one.
Right.
You know, he's the one to do it, and I like to me, I like that. I like that kind of. I guess I like that kind of story.
Yeah.
I like Harry Potter because that's mainly like the whole thing. That's what
I
it
can
is.
tell you, I've never seen Harry Potter.
There's
That's another topic.
It's another topic for another day. But
That-
but in terms of Star Wars, like that's what I like. I
Yeah.
like the way I like the hero's journey in that. I like Luke. I like all the set pieces and all that. You know, mainly the first one, and the next one's following. But that's what it is to me. It's that whimsical, that classic story, and what it makes me feel good inside when I watch it. It just makes me feel like, yeah, this is great. Like good trans over evil. Oh man, he didn't like. You know, so that's what it is. What is Star Wars to you, Edmar?
Well, essentially, Star Wars is this idea of hopeless and hopeless time, right? Where you look at the prequels, right? And I feel like one of the reasons why the prequels doesn't work is because it's not a hopeless time. It's a time where hope is not even hope. It's just this time of peace that gets disrupted by the Sith.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why people don't like it. It doesn't vibrate the same sense of what the original trilogy was, which is hope in a hopeless time. It's like the Empire is taking over. The Empire is in full force, and what's gonna be the thing to bring it down? This guy out of nowhere who's barely learning how to control the Force, or this idea of the Force which has been dead for so long. It's like, of course, it's a hope in a hopeless time, and you think of this new trilogy, and it's trying to say that even when we were able to get hope back, we weren't able to hold on to it for too long. First Order started coming out, and then that's when blah 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 blah. And so it's trying to recreate that. It's trying to recreate that and bring that back. Are they doing a good job at it? Time will tell, honestly. This trilogy hasn't fully been fleshed out. And I know you two have lacking of seeing the eighth one, but when I saw the eighth one, I did feel like I don't know where you guys are going. I'm in on the ride, but you're hanging on to me by a few very thin threads. And that's ultimately what I feel this trilogy is lacking, is because it felt it didn't feel like there was any hope in it in this hopeless time. It just felt hopeless the whole time. It's like from where we ended off to where we're at now, it's hopeless.
So are you looking for a new hope?
Huh? I thought we got that with Force Awakens.
Fuck
I really did.
Yeah.
I mean, so did other people. But ultimately, Star Wars.
Star Wars Storage Wars.
I'll fight you with these cereal boxes. Star Wars. Star Wars is a story of hope. Disrupted everything. Star Wars is a story of a hope in a hopeless time, and it's still lacking to see if this new trilogy has it. It started off on a good foot, in my opinion, but this second step was not a misstep, but one where I don't feel like it found its proper foot placing. Only time will tell.
Would you say a misguided step?
It found its step. It's just that, and it found a good place to put it. It's just, was it good enough for me? Only time will tell. Okay. Only time will tell. Honestly,
that might be the wrong boot. Maybe they put the wrong boot on as they were taking their next step.
Yeah, they might have been stepping with the wrong shoe.
Okay.
They're still stepping in the right place, but the shoe that they're wearing was Adidas, not Nike.
Metaphor is kind of tearing a little bit, but you know what? That's fine.
Yeah, as we're going in there, why would you
rough,
wear Adidas when you're going on the sand anyways? What the fuck?
I've been to the beach in Adidas.
But yeah, Chris, what do you think Star Wars means to you?
You think?
Oh God. Excuse me. I've gotten.
What does it make it feel you inside?
I've become so jaded with all of my. With how many films that I've seen. I'm not saying that I'm some guru or that I've seen 1,000 films. I've seen a lot of films, but I've just become so jaded that I hope for a series that is able to continue to hold my attention and make me feel like a kid again. And Star Wars, because it was so central to me as a kid. My dad loved the original trilogy. He, took me to see the new ones. He's definitely not like, the big Star Wars fan that everybody thinks about. He liked it. And, I watched it as a kid, and then we watched the new ones because he was like, oh, this, I like these. I'm sure, because my son liked them. We'll take him to see these. And I remember seeing 1, 2, and 3 in theaters. Like that was. I remember standing in line for the third one specifically, and there was a huge line in front of the theater. It was a big day. It was a lot of fun. So it's definitely a part of my childhood. I am not as emotionally attached though, as a lot of other people are,
Yeah.
and I think that's because again that I've seen a lot of movies and changed a lot as a human being. So I just look for something that'll make me feel that kind of experience again. Force Awakens gave it to me. Rogue One did not. This one hit a lot of the same beats, but it also touched upon the 8th one. I mean, it touched upon other things that I, as a budding film enthusiast, loves. Like it touched upon those things, and so Star Wars meant to me these trilogies, like I said earlier, these focused events, these contained stories. Now that it's kind of spreading out a little bit, I just have become even more jaded to it, where I'm just like, okay, I see the mechanisms working. I'm seeing all these, studio heads, battle it out for, supremacy. And that in and of itself is becoming more of a story to me than the actual stories. So I am just hoping that down the line, we can get more focused stories. So that is what Star Wars is to me right now, and what it has meant to me in the past. A lot of shit there. A lot of baggage.
That's fine. I know your dad hates you. It's fine.
Oh, God, Dad.
It's okay.
Where the cigar burns at.
Oh, no.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
They're all there.
That's more white skin than I expected to see.
I know.
I'm blinded.
So I wanted to throw this question to you.
Okay.
Well, I feel like there's this idea where, as fans of film, we expect too much, regardless of it being Star Wars or anything like that. We expect more. We expect stories to be much different than they were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Even 10 years ago.
When even 10 years ago. And there's this, and like I wanted to ask you guys, or throw you guys the question of like, what makes something good in your opinion? Because like last night I think we both watched Jumanji, right? Last night?
Yeah.
And I think we're both on the consensus that it did a lot more good than we expected.
He hasn't seen the original movie.
No.
Original Jumanji?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
You gotta watch
That's
it.
a movie. That's a movie worth watching. Not just because we're telling you to. It's one that I honestly, like I was telling Chris, it's one that honestly scares me, at least when I was a kid, like, because it's this idea of like, you're a kid and all you did was harmlessly play a board game and your life was taken away from you. Your life was taken away from you to the point where you become an adult, go back to your regular life, and you see that your parents are gone. And your home that you lived in is not the home you expected it to be, because it's filled with jungle-themed things that you've been trying to run away from the whole time you were inside this board game. It's a very scary idea when you ultimately think about it. And I feel like, and it's one of those movies that ultimately like when I think about when people explain to me like, oh, when I watched Goonies was such a scary movie. When I watched Goonies when I was in the 90s. I don't know when Goonies came out. I think it came out in the 80s, right?
Yes.
Goonies is 80s movies? Yeah. So I watched that in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. I thought Goonies was just a fun adventure.
Yeah.
You know? But like to kids those days when they're watching, it's like, these kids getting themselves in this fucking pirate hunting trip. So as time goes on, and the more content we watch, what's gonna get us thinking about these things anymore? You know what I mean? Ultimately, why are you showing me this?
I think that
1985. Gotcha. I was reading it down here. I was like, why are you showing me the Pirates movie that Nick Park made? When, like, but I get it now.
I think that for people who watch a lot of films and who like films, not just casual people who watch maybe a film a month, maybe.
Yeah.
For us that watch a lot of movies, you gotta expect that you're not gonna have those feelings again. You just gotta know that you're not gonna get that, and
So that's with media in general.
yeah, just you can take that and put it into any type of medium that you consume. Yeah. Whether you're like, oh, I really wish the Dodgers will have a game or have a season like they did the other year, but it's like you got to realize that people get changed out, coaches get changed out, and you're not going to have that same experience again. You just have to realize that what you like is changing as well, or you have to really seek out those individual moments. Or those individual properties or whatever it is that will give you that same thing, but you gotta drill deep down into whatever thing you're looking for. So if you're a sports fan, you gotta find that one team that is doing the same kind of stuff that you're like that you knew as a kid. But in terms of movies, if you're looking for like, oh, I want to get that Star Wars kick again, maybe Star Wars isn't the thing for you anymore. And guess what? Too bad. It's probably not going to do the same thing you wanted it to do. So now you got to go to Marvel. Now you got to go to DC, whatever it may be.
Don't go to DC.
No, don't go to DC. Just don't go to DC.
You won't find anything there.
Ooh boy. So yeah, I just feel like that's what you got to do. That's
don't do it.
That's
I know
it.
exactly what you're gonna do.
And I agree totally, just to some extent with what you're saying. But my question is like okay, us as film buffs, at least for the most part.
That's your department.
Yeah, maybe it's more our department.
Yeah.
Doesn't it suck that our quality of what we like diminishes more and more and more each year to the point where we'll only find good quality if it's Academy Award nominated? You know what I mean?
I don't necessarily say that is entirely the truth. I just say that again, to what I was saying, we just happen to find different enjoyment as we grow up because our life experience is different. We don't have as much time to play with our imaginations. We don't have as much time to just do anything. So we have to do laundry. We have to clean the apartment. We have to clean up after the dog. We have to do other things. So your life fundamentally changes from when you are a child.
Not dog, though.
True. Thank God.
He's still on that table.
He's still on that table to this day.
He's never left.
He's just on that table?
No, dude, he's still on that table.
How's he alive to this day?
They've been just throwing him scraps, I'm sure.
He's just scared to get off.
Do you agree with that, Robbie? Good, Robbie. Good, thank you.
So what you like fundamentally changes. I realized that when I was like, oh, Birdman is my favorite film this year, I was like, oh shit, what I like has changed. What I am into has changed because there will still be the Logans, sure, which are a action movie. There will still be the Marvel superhero films every now and again, but for the most part, you're gonna change what you like. Birdman is one of my favorite films of all time now, whereas literally 5 years ago, Toy Story 3 was one of my favorite films of all time.
I heard they're making Toy Story 4.
They are. I'm disappointed by that, but that's a different conversation.
I feel the same.
Again, so, yes, Toy Story 3 has a lot of things that are good, but you realize things as you get older, your experience change. No, I know. I'm just...
He's just blatantly ignoring you right now.
Yeah, I don't care what you say.
I'm listening.
So when your friends, so then you realize when your friends don't care about you, you just have to.
And then he picks up his phone. What the fuck you say?
I want to interrupt you for a second.
Go ahead.
I feel like Hugh Jackman leaving the fuck?
Huge Jackman.
Oh my God! Are you gonna go into a whole rant about
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Or we're gonna save that for after the podcast. Can we just let's finish it up? We're going a little over time here.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'll cut it.
Well, I mean, it's overtime only because we took a break.
Yeah, we took a break.
Yeah, that's true. I'll cut out some of that
We
too.
took a respite.
Yeah. There's some in that this like the parts where I was talking completely cut those out.
Yeah.
Every single part where I was talking, cut that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Do the opposite of what he said.
Okay.
I am your boss now.
You pay me?
Make sure the whole thing is just me talking. That's what he's saying.
And literally just blur out.
Watch
every other
views
person.
go up.
I hope they do. Shit.
I knew we shouldn't have kicked him out.
Wait, I was kicked out. No! I know I voluntarily left, but if I was kicked out, I want back in so I can voluntarily leave.
Here you go, sir.
No, I wanted to give you guys. An idea, which is kind of sticking to what you think. You're right. After time, things change. Okay, yeah. I feel like someone who was born 20 years ago, who made a list of their top 10 movies, would look at my top 10 list and scuff. Okay, but here's my top 10 list.
I was
of
born
movies.
20 years ago. Let me see.
No.
Shut up. You weren't cognizant
that was
20 years
talking
ago.
about movies 20 years ago. Not that
Unless
they
you
were
popped
born.
out of the womb going,
Okay.
Citizen Kane.
So, listen to this.
What a great intellectual.
First movie,
All right.
and this is in no specific order.
Okay.
So first movie, Silver Linings Playbook, directed by David O. Russell.
Never saw it.
It's a movie about crazy people,
Uh-huh.
and it's a well done movie about crazy people.
Yes.
And as a crazy person myself, I totally vouch for it.
Oh, so he's like his
Okay.
girlfriend.
So he's crazy. All right.
Yeah.
We've established this.
Yeah.
After you watch this movie, you'll see everyone's a little crazy.
Go play with your Switch.
Pineapple Express,
Oh,
directed
no.
by David
This is like
Gordon
your
Green.
ex-girlfriend.
I think Pineapple Express is a very, very well.
Pineapple Express?
Pineapple Express.
Oh, that's a great movie.
It's a great movie. It's
That's a good
well
movie.
structured. It surprisingly is a movie ultimately about friendship and how it can come from unexpected places.
And fucking weed.
And weed. Third movie, Goodfellas, directed by Martin Scorsese. Fucking
Yeah.
woo. That movie is a gangster tale that doesn't even know where it's going, and yet ultimately gets you to a place where you're fucking satisfied with that shit. And that is hard to do, especially when that ending isn't fully satisfactory, because the hero doesn't get what he wants, but he gets something more,
Right.
which is what we as an audience should take away. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, directed by Milos Forman.
I want to see that movie.
I'm a huge Jack Nicholson fan, and when I first saw it, I was just like, it's about a man who doesn't want to be in jail, so he pretends to be crazy to be able to stay out of jail.
Yeah.
And yet in that in itself as an idea is fucking crazy.
And also he ends up being in a jail.
I love crazy.
Either way.
And
I
also,
love crazy
and also before you continue listening.
Yeah. Well, he ends up getting his mind completely lobotomized.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
So, speaking of Milos Forman, have you seen Man on the Moon?
yeah, I love Man on the
Okay.
Moon.
Did you see
Jim and Andy? I have
Jim
not
and
seen
Andy?
Jim and Andy.
You haven't
My
seen
mom saw Jim and Andy the other
I did
night.
the opposite. I haven't seen Man on the Moon, but I did saw.
You saw Jim and Andy?
I did saw do movie good.
Man on the Moon is a spectacular
I
film
didn't see the movie.
that does not exactly follow the normal format of a biography.
Okay.
It kind of just gives you snippets of his life, but it just flows really well because
Yeah.
it's all Andy Kaufman throughout
Yeah.
the whole thing, and that's what matters. That's what matters.
Go check that shit out. Netflix, please sponsor.
Yeah, no, honest, Jim. I'm gonna check out Jim and Andy when I get a chance.
It's great.
But ultimately, Man on the Moon is a good film. I will stand by that.
Some say that Jim Carrey is just a creation made by Andy Kaufman.
That's like that. I won't fight that. I won't fight that at all.
Maybe.
He's done things where honestly Andy Kaufman would be proud of. That's what I think.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay. Next. I skipped one. Social Network, directed by David Fincher.
And it's it.
Didn't see it.
It is a movie that ultimately is about revenge, but just like in the most like simplistic, most juvenile way of revenge.
Yeah.
But it leads into the creation of one of our biggest social networking sites ever. You
Fuck
get me?
you, Mark
Like
Zuckerberg.
out of just being a petty kid who wants revenge on his girlfriend, that you create one of the biggest sites ever. It says a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And ultimately this
I'm gonna
film
create
plays
this
it that way.
I'm gonna create this website.
And
out of
what I
spite.
love about this film, ultimately, when it comes out of Social Network, is that it is a movie that dramatizes a situation that really didn't need much dramatizing. It really didn't need all this, and it did that, and it did it in such a great way.
Yeah.
Slumdog Millionaire by Danny Boyle.
Haven't seen.
I highly recommend this film, not only one because it teaches you about a culture that honestly we would be very unfamiliar with,
Right.
especially the Indian culture, but beyond that, it's a tale about brothers, and it's really sweet at the end, where you kind of just understand that like siblings, regardless of where you come from, like it ultimately will have an effect on you.
Yeah.
You know, who you're related to will ultimately always have an effect on who you are.
Yeah.
and whether you hate your brother or you love your brother, it's beautiful how it's depicted that way. Next, Pulp Fiction,
Great.
directed by Quentin Tarantino. This is the film that got me into wanting to do something with film. This is the film that's got me into talking about film so much. Just that because it ultimately helped me understand that film can be more than just a 3-act structure.
Yeah.
It could be way more than that. Next, The Descendants by director Alexander Payne. Very good movie.
That's the one with
George Clooney.
Okay, yeah.
George Clooney. Very underrated film. I think it's one that needs to be watched by more people, just because it's Alexander Payne taking on the idea of like honestly like with Moonrise Kingdom. I mean with Moonrise Kingdom. Sorry, that's one of my movies.
Oh God,
that's why, sorry.
Oh, I love that movie.
Pulp Fiction.
Right.
Well, I mean with Pulp Fiction. What am I saying? The Descendants. With
Descendants.
The Descendants, you
Good God,
ultimately
man.
get this idea of that like family's more than just what's expected of you. Family is more about the idea of like coming through for someone because you want to, because you know it's your duty beyond more than just, oh hey, we belong to this lineage and we have to do this lineage honor, and ultimately it does ultimately lead to that, but it's through his experiences of dealing with his own family that he understands like, hey, we need to pay respect to these people. To go quickly, Up is another movie on here.
It's because of the balloons, huh?
It's a good movie.
It's because that
No.
bird, huh?
It's because of that joke. Squirrel.
I don't know, dude. Up is
It's a good
Yeah.
it's a really good
It's
movie.
fantastic.
It's hard to put
a
into
good
words.
movie.
It's
It's
a movie that
good
honestly,
movie.
like you think about it, balloons, a house floating in the sky, a little Asian kid and an old man. Like what? That's a really good movie. It is really good.
I've seen that porn.
What?
Whoa. Last two. Birdman.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier.
Birdman 4.
Birdman just completely flips it on its head of what you expect a film should be.
What do you do
It does
Birdman
everything. It does everything that led people to ultimately not like this movie, and I'm talking about people, like the general consensus. But of course, those who knew how special this film was, made sure to give it the attributes it
You
deserves.
have Harvey Keaton playing superhero.
Harvey Keaton?
I forgot his name.
Harvey Keitel is not in the movie.
No,
He's
no,
not
not
in the movie
Harvey
at all.
Keitel. No. Oh my God, Mike.
Michael
I'm
Keaton.
gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna
And last but not least,
Moonrise Kingdom.
Moonrise Kingdom.
Yes. I love that movie.
Moonrise Kingdom.
You should see that movie.
Is
Fuck you too.
Is ultimately a movie about the most simplistic things about life. You know what I mean?
So
It sets
good.
us on an island that is on the coast of Rhode Island, and tells us a story that is so down to earth that you can't help but relate with it, regardless of who you are. It's at the bottom of my list, not because it's the
Well, you
best
said
out
no
of the three.
particular order.
There's no particular order, but I know I'm talking high mighty shit about it. But that's one that I can honestly say so much about it because I've watched that movie more than 10 times.
Damn.
More than 10 times, and that's because it was on HBO, and each time I didn't regret changing the channel to watch it. You understand? That's how special that movie is. And one thing why I bring up this list is because a lot of those lists are 2000 and on.
Yeah.
A lot of people would argue that most of the great movies come from before 2000,
It's
right?
stuff
Most
that
movies have come before 2000.
It's
I'm
stuff that
saying.
like you well not necessarily grew up on, but maybe just stuff that in your lifetime, as you're getting older and as you're having more experiences in your life, you're having these movies that you can relate to. I can't believe this turned into a fucking movie podcast for today. To continue, like you have these experiences when you're younger, and like you're comparing
It's
them
more
to
of an
these
inside
movies.
joke.
You're comparing your life to these movies that have that significant impact.
Yeah.
To you
Yeah.
personally, you
Yeah.
know, because my list is gonna be different from his, yours, his, anybody in the fucking world. But because those movies, like you said, those movies that came out now, and movies that came out way back when, like way past our lifetimes, they are significant to the people in that time because they meant something to them during that time.
Something
I
about
think-
it speaks
and-
to them.
Exactly.
And another thing is, most of those movies, I can promise you, with the exception of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Goodfellas, and Pulp Fiction,
Those are like 80s and 90s.
I did not watch those in theaters.
Right.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
we're like it's that movie going experience. I think that also adds on to what you're saying, Andrew. Is that
Hey, my name.
like honestly?
Oh wow.
Chris,
Holy shit.
Abel,
Abel.
oh,
Oh.
oh,
Oh. Goodbye, sir.
oh,
Oh no.
oh, oh. Okay, but ultimately, I'll wait for Chris to climb back up from his. He's coming. There you go. He's got it. He's got it. He's got it. There you go.
Cut it right there.
There you go. Oof. Abel. See, I got it there right this time.
He's
So-
like,
You had it right the first time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's the Spanish way.
That's the actual way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, but like ultimately, like I wouldn't argue that someone else's list that had a lot more movies that were pre 2000 is wrong. I do believe that those people who sat in a theater and watched those films had a better experience than I did watching Goodfellas on AMC or watching what else was on
Pulp
my list?
Fiction,
Pulp Fiction
One
on
Flew.
AMC.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest on AMC.
No, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was
I wanna see
Netflix.
Netflix.
But yeah, but you get what I'm saying. We're
Yeah.
like the idea of what is important to us evolves with what we've seen personally in theaters. Honestly, I think so because you sit down and you have this moment where you share with. I kind of remember Social Network for the most part, but I've seen Social Network so many times since that it's kind of like starts to muddle together.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Where Goodfellas is a movie that I've seen multiple times, but I've always seen it on TV. I really have always seen it on TV. There's only been maybe one time that I tried watching it on Netflix, where it was like straight forward, like no interruptions, no bleeped out stuff. Imagine hearing it on AMC where it's like, you man, you're a oh man, you know, so many bleepings, but still, like that also speaks to the power of that film, where like it can speak louder than its censorship. Yeah, I just think as we are from a different generation, that it shouldn't feel that bad to have a list like this because these are the movies that we essentially grew up on. Yeah. Just like someone who grew up before 2000 will have Star Wars on that list. I didn't have a Star Wars movie on that list. Star Wars movie isn't the best movie that I've ever seen. A Star Wars movie is good. I do see how it does have this effect of like what you expect, but ultimately, you know, you want to see. You want to see.
No, damn it! I was really hoping you would just see.
You want to see the films that ultimately are gonna attach to you, and as you get older, the same way Goodfellas is. Don't get me wrong, Goodfellas is on my list because it deserves to be on my list.
Yeah.
But ultimately, a film like some of Scorsese's films, his earlier works, won't hit you as hard as people who grew up during that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up during. I guess.
Pulp Fiction, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Well, I'm looking beyond that. I'm looking beyond that. Like I didn't grow up.
Or you didn't.
Moonrise Kingdom. Like I didn't grow up during that
No,
time,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
sitting in a theater watching that story untold and seeing how close to the ground it is, how close it is. Yeah, it's crazy.
Before we end it, one of my favorite movie going experiences. I saw Inception 6 times. Oh no, I saw Inception 5 times at the movie theater.
Damn.
I showed that movie 2 hours and almost 45 minutes of that movie.
Okay.
And I did not get bored. I did not get like, oh, okay. First time I was like, what is this movie? Second time, okay, I get it. Third time, it just kept going and going and going.
Oh my God.
And the reason why I didn't go the 6th time was because me and my uncle, I kept going with my Uncle Tony. And the last one, I was on his laptop. He was playing video games in his room. And I started reading up stuff on the movie. He's like, dude, there's a thing at the end where if you
Totem.
no not the totem where whenever he's in a dream he has his ring on, whenever he's not in the dream he has his ring off. Do you want to go see the movie one more time just to go see that? We both looked at each other. What time is it? 7. What time does the movie start? 9. and we had just got home like an hour before the movie, like an hour before seeing the same fucking movie. We were like, "Do you want to go?"
Wow.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
Oh my god.
So we fucking went, but that would be one of the most memorable movie experiences that I've had in the recent year, because it's just like it's a memory of going to the movies and like I said, having that experience.
No, I get you.
In the theater.
Here's one movie that's not on this list that I feel like deserves to be the list. I just don't know what to replace for it. Is Mad Max Fury Road.
Just make it
11. I saw Mad Max Fury Road 7 times in
11.
theater.
Boom.
7 times. And that was 6 times close to it, and then the 7th time was Jesse telling me, "Hey, do you want to go watch it in IMAX? Because we haven't seen it in IMAX." All the way in Del Amo. Del Amo. That's all the way in Long Beach area.
Holy shit.
I had to drive all the way to Long Beach area because Jesse was the one getting me in for free.
So what you pretty much would have
spent to go there, yes, but that's how much I love the fucking movie, dude.
Didn't I take it
like Mad Max?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah,
Mad Max is a fucking ball buster of a good time, especially with the whole idea that it's just a chase scene for 2 hours.
I didn't know what the movie was gonna be, and then when I started watching it, like 30 minutes, I'm like, I'm so confused. By the end of it, I'm just like, yes! Oh my god!
Yeah, over here.
Definitely, because it is one that totally flips you on your head of what you expect. Because I remember when I was watching the first trailer where it had that beautiful
the orchestral piece.
Yeah, the orchestral piece.
Fucking battle royale shit. Yeah.
Never seen that movie.
You've never seen Battle Royale?
Never finished it.
It's adult Hunger Games.
Yeah, I know. I never finished it.
God damn.
Well, technically, it's Kid Hunger Games.
Well, but
Technically, I've never seen Battle Royale.
Thank you.
But ultimately, what you would want to take away from this is the idea that I feel like these new movies, whether they're Star Wars, whether they're anything of MCU or anything like that, it's just us trying to recapture that moment that we had with these 10 movies or whatever your 10 movies are, wherever your 10 movies are, your 10 movies are. It's just a gamble, and it's a gamble that we're willing to take each time, and it's mainly based on this idea that the gamble eventually will pay off. And it has. I didn't think Mad Max in 2015 was going to be better than any of these movies on this list, and to some extent it's not better than any of these movies on this list, but it deserves to be on this list. Just like I don't know what yours are, but there are those, and
you're never gonna know.
You're never gonna know.
No,
you're never gonna know.
I'm never gonna tell you what movies.
I haven't seen Blade Runner 2049 yet. You have a poster.
That's a good movie. That's a really good movie.
And you know what? I feel like before any of us launch into another freaking tangent, as much as I love talking to you guys about this crap, we're at an hour 35.
That's fine. The first one was 2 hours.
I know, but this one's going to be cut down.
Have
That first one was a masturbatory session.
Yes.
Okay.
You told me you hadn't.
Yes, I did.
Oh no, you haven't read the book.
I didn't read the book. No, don't cut it off, please. No, don't do that.
Thank you guys.
There's a fucking mouse.
Thank you guys for listening and watching.
Let's
Yeah.
do this right.
Okay, fine.
All right. Let's fucking put it down. Blade Runner. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So yeah, let's finish this up. Thank you very much, dude.
Yeah,
for
of course.
coming back.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I will be back. Hopefully,
You will be back.
I'll be
We'll
back
make
the first
this
week of
happen.
January. If you guys want me.
Yeah,
But,
we're
like,
gonna do it the first week of January.
All right.
Damn, this
I like
was
being in
so
the middle
good.
of this.
Yeah,
orgy.
alright.
Holy shit.
This hand orgy.
Oh my
It's
God.
So,
Yeah.
for
So
you
much sweat
podcast
everywhere.
listeners,
Babe, help.
it's just-
There's a hand orgy going on.
I just
Stick your hand out.
All right, but thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you for watching. I don't mean to talk about movies, but
Shut up. Oh, God. Hold on. Wait.
No.
No.
thank you.
All right. You want to do it?